Señoras y señores representantes, muy buenos días. Les agradeceremos, por favor, ocupen sus lugares para iniciar la sesión. Señoras y señores representantes y observadores, declaro abierta esta sesión extraordinaria del Consejo Permanente, convocada para recibir a la excelentísima señora Caroline Rodríguez Birquet, ministra de Relaciones Exteriores y Comercio Exterior de la República de Guyana. Señora ministra, en mi carácter de presidente del Consejo Permanente de la Organización de los Estados Americanos, me complace recibirla en esta Casa de las Américas y ofrecerle una muy cordial bienvenida. Con mucho gusto recibimos y saludamos también a la distinguida comitiva que la acompaña. Sean todos ustedes muy bienvenidos. Señora ministra, usted representa al pueblo guyanés, al que nos unen lazos de sólida amistad y cooperación y al que saludamos afectuosamente. Tengo ahora el gusto de invitar al embajador Hugo de Sela, quien presentará los saludos en representación de la Secretaría General de la Organización de Estados Americanos. Embajador de Sela, tiene usted el uso de la palabra.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Señor presidente, Madam Minister, it is a great pleasure to welcome once again the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of the Republic of Guyana, Caroline Rodriguez Birquet, to the OES and the Permanent Council today. On behalf of Secretary General Insulza and the OES, we thank you for your presence in the House of the Americas. The celebration of this meeting highlights the strong commitment of the government of the Republic of Guyana and its President, Donald Ramotar, to the OES and reflects the importance that Guyana has always given to the Organization of American States. As a founding member of the Caribbean community and the seat of CARICOM, your country has envisioned from early on the need for greater and deeper integration in the hemisphere, playing a unique role in bridging between the Caribbean and South America. It is, after all, the only English-speaking country in South America. Precisely in this area, Minister Birquet has distinguished herself in her constant efforts advocating for the need of a meaningful integration, one that promotes sustainable development and social inclusion for the benefit of our citizens. Integration has also been a challenge in Guyana. Your country, Minister, has shown resilience and has celebrated the diversity of its peoples in the various walks of life and spheres of influence. To some, Guyana can be described as a melting pot with great cultural expressions that have served to strengthen its society. I take this opportunity to express to you, Minister, that here at the OES, we are also working steadily on these issues. Not so long ago, as you know, the General Assembly approved the Social Charter, a very important, much-needed complement to the Inter-American Democratic Charter, and we are now very actively engaged in the negotiation of an action plan to put into effect the agreements reached in this social charter. In matters of integration, we are also moving forward from the internal front. Under a renewed leadership, we are concentrating our efforts in order to revitalize our development area, the Secretariat for Integral Development. We expect to promptly put forward for the consideration of the member states some ideas about what to do to revitalize this priority area, this pillar of the OAS. We are certain that the contribution of Guyana to these endeavors will be very useful, taking into account your country's experience in these matters. The development strategy your government has committed itself to involves the pursuit of multifaceted political, constitutional, and economic reforms, which can be at times trying. Nevertheless, in the last years, this has served to make the country stronger, and this was demonstrated in the positive economic growth rates it has been experiencing. We are aware that Guyana has had to face many serious challenges. However, we have also witnessed how you have worked without pause in an effort to build a more resilient economy and at the same time a more cohesive, inclusive social fabric. Building citizenship, giving citizens more opportunities and create a safe environment for the full development of the people are goals we all share and are core values of this organization. The OAS stands ready to support the efforts of our member states in furthering their commitments to the promotion and consolidation of democracy and development for the citizens of the Americas. Thank you very much for being here today, Minister Birkett. Gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias, embajador de Cela, por su intervención. Señoras y señores, estimados colegas, nuestra ilustre visitante, la ministra señora Caroline Rodríguez Birkett, recibió su formación académica en Administración de Negocios en Canadá. En su país obtuvo un grado en el campo de Trabajos Sociales, realizando sus estudios al mismo tiempo que la gerencia del proyecto CIMAP. La ministra Rodríguez Birkett ocupó la jefatura del Ministerio de Asuntos Amerindios antes de ser designada como ministra de Relaciones Exteriores y Comercio Exterior en abril de 2008, siendo la primera mujer en ocupar la cartera de Relaciones Exteriores en su país. La gestión de la señora ministro al frente del Servicio Diplomático de Guyana se ha distinguido por el fortalecimiento de las relaciones con sus vecinos. Ello ha permitido el desarrollo de importantes emprendimientos conjuntos en temas como seguridad marítima y cambio climático, seguridad alimentaria y estabilidad financiera. La importancia que la ministra Rodríguez Birkett ha dado a los temas sociales ha demostrado el liderazgo en su país hacia la obtención de los objetivos del milenio. En este sentido, la señora ministra ha reportado el progreso alcanzado en Guyana en los campos de la educación, la salud, la igualdad de género, la erradicación de la pobreza, en la reducción de la transmisión del SIDA de madre a hijos, mediante estrategias progresivas e integradas que incluyen la prudente administración macroeconómica y de políticas sociales y fiscales y la priorización del desarrollo social y de infraestructura. En su carácter de presidenta de UNASUR, en su momento se vio reconocido el compromiso de la ministra Rodríguez Birquet por fortalecer alianzas encaminadas a promover el desarrollo de los pueblos de la región. Las labores de la ministra se extienden también hacia esfuerzos que buscan la consolidación de una cultura que propicie y promueva la paz de manera que todos los ciudadanos podamos disfrutar de la democracia, los derechos humanos y el desarrollo sostenible. Señora ministra, las políticas implementadas y los logros alcanzados en su carrera al servicio de los ciudadanos de su país y la región son notables y por ello su presencia en este foro nos complace mucho y nos honra. Señora ministra Rodríguez Birquet, con mucho gusto le ofrezco ahora el uso de la palabra. Tiene usted la palabra, señora ministra.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, representative of the Secretary General, Your Excellencies, permanent representatives and permanent observers, distinguished alternative representatives, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your kind introduction and for convening this special session to afford me the opportunity to address this distinguished gathering. It is an honor to be in this hallowed chamber, the very name of which is symbolic with continental liberty and Pan-American integration. I'm especially pleased to be here with you all during this week, which coincides with the anniversary of an event of historic importance to the people of Guyana. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, 250 years ago this week, the slave population in Berbice, Guyana's easternmost county, rebelled against their oppressors. In what has become known as the Berbice Slave Rebellion, the slaves put the Dutch plantation owners to flight and expelled them from the colony. Their leader, Kofi, who is Guyana's national hero, assumed the governorship of the colony and prohibited the return of the slave owners, with a force of 3,000 men and women under his command. The uprising was eventually crushed by a coalition of Europeans employing superior force, and the slaves were killed with unspeakable barbarity. The Berbice Slave Rebellion set off other uprisings in the region. It had threatened the presence of Europeans in the America while it lasted, and it foreshadowed the Haitian Revolution, which it preceded by more than 40 years. Through the ages, the people of Guyana have had to rebel in many other instances against the system of slavery and other forms of subjugation which replaced it, against foreigners and locals alike, before their freedom was finally won. In the wake of such historical experiences, Mr. Chairman, in Guyana today, like elsewhere in our hemisphere, freedom and democracy are cherished principles which are vigorously strengthened and resolutely defended. It is against this background that the principles enshrined and inscribed in the Democratic Charter form the cornerstone of Guyana's democratic ideals. Prior to obtaining its independence from Britain, Guyana was a victim of Cold War machinations. The Constitution and the electoral machinery, which had been established by the colonial authorities, were subverted by the very colonizers themselves in order to distort the democratic will of the electorate. Indeed, for several years following independence, these machinations continued. Covert operations were executed, bringing in their wake political turmoil and violence, repression, economic and social degradation. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, today, just 20 years since Guyana achieved democratic rule, the country has undergone a transformation from an economic basket case and a pariah among the community of democratic nations. It has more than tripled gross domestic product, vastly improved and expanded health care and housing, invested heavily in education and infrastructure, and restored national pride and confidence. At the international level, Guyana is demonstrating an ever-increasing commitment to integration, and it has garnered international attention for its initiatives to deal with challenges such as climate change and poverty alleviation. We still have a far way to go, but the foundation has been laid. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, none of these developments would have transpired had Guyana not received support and solidarity from member states of the hemisphere and benefited from the work of the OAS in the promotion of democracy. I wish to refer in particular to the OAS electoral observation missions, which have been fielded in my country and which have played a role in ensuring free, fair, and democratic elections. I wish today to once again reiterate the appreciation for the result of their work, as was done by President Ramotar when he addressed this body. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, this renewed faith and confidence in my country by the populace are behind the advances made in Guyana's integration with the rest of the region in recent times. The convenient geographic location, which sees her arms warmly embracing the Caribbean and her feet firmly planted in South America, Guyana is satisfying its long-standing aspiration to bridge the span between the countries of CARICOM and those of UNASUR. Guyana, where the headquarters of CARICOM is located, is the only English-speaking country to have served as the chair of UNASUR and of the Rio Group, which is now subsumed in CELAC. Evidently, our countries have benefited from the steady progress which has been made towards integration in the hemisphere. I am aware, Mr. Chairman, that there are few who question the need for the several sub-regional integration mechanisms that now exist. However, for Guyana, this is a welcome sign, which indicates that the pace of integration is ever advancing in recognition that only together we can overcome the major challenges of our times and maximize the many opportunities that our hemisphere presents, which will evidently lead to the improvement of the lives of our people. The South American continent, for example, is proceeding with its integration process with a focus on socio-economic development and infrastructural linkages. Shared values, collective norms, collective actions, and a commitment to cooperation are the key ingredients for better integration among our peoples. CELAC, UNASUR, Mercosur, ALBA, SICA, CARICOM, and others all have valid agendas and are making positive and important contributions to regional integration. Nonetheless, the most outstanding accomplishments over the years in strengthening and upholding democracy, human rights, integral development, and security have been achieved by this organization. The OAS is and will remain the hemisphere's indispensable platform for dialogue, the promotion of cooperation, sharing best practices, confidence building, and problem solving. During the course of its existence, this organization has also demonstrated the flexibility to adapt to the steadily evolving needs of its members, while at the same time maintaining adherence to its core values. In the years to come, further adaptations and adjustments will be required in order to cater for the challenging realities of the hemisphere. In this process, we must entertain no doubts about the continuing relevance and value of the OAS and about its future. Then and now, Guyana's support and commitment to the organization will be unwavering. Lest we forget, this was the nature of the unifying vision that was positively articulated by so many of our leaders at the 6th Summit less than a year ago. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, the OAS finds itself at a crucial juncture. The organization is engaged in a series of debates in an attempt to reassess its functions and its capacity. The ongoing reforms aimed at prioritizing mandates, rationalizing the budgetary and administrative necessities, strengthening the human rights system, and determining the future of the defense system are of importance not only to the organization as a whole, but to the nature of inter-American cooperation. As we have come to recognize, the exercise of trimming and synchronizing mandates while optimizing the management of resources is a complex and sensitive undertaking. It requires a clear-eyed focus on our collective goals, with the key watchword being transparency. In the final analysis, the task of resolving budgetary and administrative questions will remain inconclusive so long as there remains discord of the questions of policies. This process can easily slide into gridlock if we lack the determination to bridge any political gaps which may exist. The mistrust and the lack of will which this could engender could lead to a fatal paralysis, and the ones to lose out will be our citizens. The people of our hemisphere give scant attention to stale debates about political and ideological chastity. They want solutions to poverty, crime, and unemployment. Like the instantaneous communication which advanced technology has brought, so too our people expect us to respond to their needs with alacrity. The overriding collective need is for the OAS to rationalize its functions so it can work more effectively for a better hemisphere. We must maintain our resolve so that we can arrive at solutions in the interests of our citizens beyond our political differences. This can be achieved if the OAS is not seen as a platform to heighten divisions, and if we focus collectively on the real worth and value of the organization. Moreover, it is of fundamental importance for every member state and every sub-region to have the conviction that they enjoy equal status, that their needs and interests are being fully addressed, and that the organization is fulfilling its obligations equitably. Since the Charter does not ascribe a difference in priority to the pillars of the organization, they should each merit equal value and importance. We have noted with interest that the Secretary General has put forward his strategic vision for the organization, and we commend him for taking this step. We trust that this vision can serve as a useful point of departure in the ensuing deliberations concerning the future of the OAS. Mr. Chairman, the CARICOM region is endowed with natural resources and immense talent that ought to provide a solid basis for the development and prosperity of our societies. Our sub-region is also generally regarded as a bastion of democracy and integration in the hemisphere. However, economic and social developments are being stymied by the vulnerabilities which are peculiar to our sub-region and are often beyond our control. The special security concerns of Caribbean states is a topic which continues to engage the attention of the OAS. Bearing in mind that the area of multidimensional security encompasses a wide range of threats, I would like to refer briefly to the drug trade and its effects on our nations and that of climate change. The drug trade and the level of crime and violence that trail in its wake are sapping our societies and particularly the lives of our youth. Transnational organized crime has become more audacious and more mobile, aided by high profitability, porous borders, easy access to weaponry, and limits to state capacity. With criminal proceeds accounting for an estimated 2 to 5% of GDP, the effects of transnational organized crime on citizen security, social development, and the rule of law are matters which need to be addressed with increased urgency. Over the span of time, illicit drugs have consistently grown less expensive, more potent, and more accessible. If drug cartels can outspend the national security budgets of some member states, this is an untenable situation which can lead in only one direction. It is time to recognize that our current strategies need reviewing, and our paradigms must be rearranged if we are to effectively combat the drug trade. It is time that consumer nations re-evaluate their approach and the nature of their responsibility. It is time to recognize that there will be no viable solutions in the absence of effective measures to address demand. The drug trade and other trans-border criminal activities can only be curbed through stepped-up cooperation by all member states across the board. The operatives involved in illegal drugs have shown a high level of cooperation and networking across countries and continents. If we are to win this battle, we must demonstrate an even higher level of cooperation and networking in order to be ahead of the game. It is on account of the importance which we attach to security issues that Guyana has decided to serve as chair of Committee on Hemispheric Security this year. We wish to urge renewed efforts aimed at guaranteeing citizen security, and I'm pleased to inform you that the heads of government of the Caribbean community just 2 days ago in Haiti adopted a 14-point strategy on security in CARICOM. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, even as we direct our efforts fighting the trafficking in illegal drugs and the other attendant crimes, it must be recognized that the greatest long-term threat to the economic viability of the Caribbean is posed by climate change. I will not seek to repeat all of the scientific findings, as this is well known. The World Bank estimates the potential total annual impact of climate change on CARICOM countries to be 11.3% of their total GDP. Nearly 1/5 of these losses are likely to be linked to the effects of sea level rise, including loss of land, damages to buildings, and to tourism infrastructure. National authorities and the scientific community are agreed that the region is already beginning to suffer from some of these effects. Indeed, several of our Caribbean countries are in a perpetual state of rebuilding. It is beyond dispute, Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, that many small island and low-lying coastal developing states can suffer irreparable reversals without ambitious action by the international community to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions and support for these states to adapt to these effects. In response to these challenges, in 2009, CARICOM heads of government issued the Lilian Dahl Declaration on Climate Change and Development. Named after the place in Guyana where the headquarters of CARICOM is located, the Lilian Dahl Declaration is the instrument by which CARICOM has committed itself to collective action in the fight against climate change. The declaration accords recognition to the value of standing forests and their role in mitigating the effects, that is, of climate change. Taking into account the geographic areas of Guyana, Suriname, and Belize, 50% of CARICOM is under forest cover. These factors have helped to shape Guyana's objectives of reducing carbon emissions in the atmosphere by avoiding deforestation and forest degradation, and by implementing sustainable forest management and reforestation. Our strategy is to pursue pathways to economic and social development based on a low-carbon development strategy. This approach would allow Guyana to place its forests, which comprise 80% of our national territory, under long-term protection, while stimulating public and private investments for clean energy. These measures would support our goal of long-term economic growth alongside a commitment to globally accepted social and environmental safeguards. In partnership with the government of Norway, we have established a mechanism which rewards Guyana for its stewardship over its forest resources. This mechanism can serve as a model of cooperation on climate change for forest nations. It serves as a reminder that all nations, big and small, have a role to play to overcome common obstacles. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, I'm aware that my presentation to you has focused more on the challenges we have to confront and to confront together. But there is one more to which I must add my voice, and that is the issue of differentiation or graduation, which is touted by its authors as a means of ensuring that development assistance go to the countries most in need. The problem with this new construct is that it uses GDP per capita as a central factor in determining vulnerability without considering in totality the many vulnerabilities faced by countries in the Caribbean. I have spoken about the impacts of climate change, the drug trade, and porous borders. In addition, some countries in the Caribbean are heavily indebted and still trying to survive following the financial crisis. If we use GDP per capita, countries like the Bahamas and Barbados will be considered high income, while many others will be categorized as middle income and therefore disqualified for further assistance, or will see their assistance considerably reduced. This will set back many of our countries. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, we therefore seek the support of all in this regard. Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, the imperatives of our time are the legitimate needs of our people for greater security and prosperity. Nations, whether small and vulnerable or large and strong, must be able to stand shoulder to shoulder and count on the solidarity of each other to confront the challenges of today. We, the guardians of our people's interests, must summon the commitment, flexibility, and solidarity that is needed to achieve their just aspirations. We cannot afford for succeeding generations to look back on this era as a lost opportunity. Let us exert the will to cooperate so that we make a reality of their aspirations. I thank you very much for your gracious attentions, and I wish you all the best in your future deliberations. I thank you.
Excelencia, muchas gracias por su mensaje. Respetuosamente solicito a los distinguidos representantes que permanezcan en sus asientos mientras Su Excelencia, la señora ministra Caroline Rodríguez Birquet y su comitiva se retiran de esta sala. señoras y señores representantes y observadores, honorables invitados, se levanta esta sesión extraordinaria del Consejo Permanente. Muchas gracias. Se levanta la sesión.